Good morning, class of 452.
Okay, so we were chapter 3, self-conquest. My name's Jess.
Kimmy.
Joseph.
And I'm Daniel.
So
And
let's begin.
Chapter 3, self-conquest.
Let's begin. Let's talk about a little bit what Ida kind of was. Like, I'd say like in 3 words, she was basically
religious.
Yeah, super religious. Like
Positive.
positive.
For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, she's very like strict too.
Yeah.
That was like a big thing that I felt like in the
She was
our
also
chapter.
super ambitious.
Would you call her like a teacher though? In a way, because how she influenced others around her?
She was not a parent.
She was a really good parent.
She was a mom. Like
yeah.
that was like her number one job.
She lost her parents at like
really young age,
Yeah.
5 and 11. Her mom died when she was 5, and her dad died when she was 11.
Yeah, so she kind of had to grow up like right away.
Yeah, so she like kind of took care of her.
Yeah.
She grew up one of 11. She was
So she kind of didn't have a childhood, I guess you would put it that way.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she just became the mom instantly. So, what leadership traits do you think that she had?
I found Ida to be very honest. She has integrity. Another thing I noticed throughout the reading was her mother and father left her at a young age, and she was one of 11 children, so naturally she had to become more strict, and her decision-making capabilities enhanced
Yeah, that
as
makes
she
sense. She
grew.
like grew up.
Of
totally.
course, definitely. And I feel like too, when her parents died, that also helped her establish a really strong moral base.
Yeah.
Especially because she had to be a teacher, she really had to take on a different role, as well as her ethics really evolved, especially with the chapter starting with sin. Ethics was, for me, pretty prominent there, especially at the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
So sin in the book is basically defined as something that people take super lightly.
Like now it is.
Yeah. In the beginning, it literally says that sin is just people complaining over like fattening desserts. And then it goes on to talking about how sin is part of our character building, and how without sin, then like how are you really gonna not build your character, but like define who you are. And then the book also talks about how we sin because we're thinking about short-term. What's the
Really
word?
like short-term actions? Because like they were
a lot
given
of
examples.
a lot of the sin
in
was
there.
talking about like not just like sin in general, but like from like religious aspect of the 7 deadly sins, and talking about like lust
Yeah.
and
Does someone want to
gluttony.
chime that
Exactly,
in?
especially like with they gave the example of who was the character? Was it
Ida.
Dwight at the
Ida?
beginning, who was rebellious?
Yeah, basically they talked about how you don't think about the long-term consequence, I guess.
That's basically
Yeah.
just like people in general.
Yeah.
Now, like, I feel like.
Yeah, that
Of
is.
course.
Okay, so character is next. And so this whole chapter is supposed to be about like self-conquest, and I feel like character is like a big part of that aspect, or that like characteristic inside. I don't know how to word that right, but showing your character. Since the chapter was about Ida, I feel like her character showed mostly through her struggles and how she persevered and overcame, since she did have kind of a hard childhood, and she was kind of thrown a lot of things when at a young age, and just like her character showed her persevering.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I just feel like she's like so much older than like her age.
Yeah,
And, like-
she had to act so much older
Yeah.
than her age because of everything that happened to her and how big her family is. She didn't really have a choice.
And connecting that to building character, would you say that was more of her situation or the times that she was growing up in?
Probably a little bit of
Probably
both.
both, yeah.
Yeah, just because like at the time, like it talks a lot about like how women weren't really going to school past 8th grade, and then just like what she went through. Also, like I feel like if it was any time in life, if you were to lose both your parents, you either survive or you die, and that was also something talked about in the book about. You either survive or you perish, and that's just like how life is. Like you either survive or you don't. There's no in between.
And she's just praised by how well she survived, basically.
Yeah, she was very religious, and her religion kind of changed though throughout like the chapter. Like she started as like Orthodox, and then she like transitioned into Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah. The reason why she converted from her first
Orthodox.
religion, Orthodox, into Jehovah's Witness is because her son died and she wanted something.
Paul.
Yes, Paul died and she wanted something more. What was the word?
She wanted a life.
and
She
more
wanted
open.
more of like a something more personal, and feel more connected to the faith.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But would you feel also that she needed that support group that she wasn't getting before?
Probably. Because her whole life she just like went through the struggle. So finding a faith was really helpful to her.
And it was probably really important to her to do that because I guess she might have found a family through that because when people are really close with a religious group of people, they become family, I guess.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was almost like it was more strict and she enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Like she enjoyed finding
Strict for structure or like in structure
Just
and
like
rules or?
both.
You know how-
Because she was just like, it seemed like she was a very like solemn person. Like she wasn't a very like emotional or like she was not even like I feel like very passionate. She was just very calm and collected.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just like she was very.
still lived. She enjoyed rules, but still lived like free.
Yeah, she got married and she met her husband in college and they got married and it said like she stayed with him for the rest of her life until she died. I feel like they talk a little bit about like mentors in the book, and that was a little odd because I feel like they talked more about that because they talked more about her son in that aspect because she was a mentor.
Exactly.
Because her parents weren't around for her to be able to have mentors for her.
No,
I feel like it's not just about
unfortunate.
Ida though. It's also just kind of like about the Eisenhowers and like
the whole family.
their like family self-conquest and like finding themselves because they all went through their own struggles. Like how her husband David went through his struggles with money. They kind of talked about that in character.
Yeah, how they had to move and
He was
kind
in
of
debt.
start over.
Yeah. How he like had started a business and it failed.
Yeah. And he was a little too embarrassed to tell his kids about that because what are you gonna do?
Yeah. And then it talks about like her life and how she struggles and then how she perseveres, and then it talks about each of the kids a little bit, like Ike and his life, and then it talks about Dwight, who is someone that is actually really well known in history. They talk about his presidential campaign.
And when talking about
Ike's?
No,
Dwight
Eisenhower.
And so when it comes to talking about her kids, which they mention a lot in this chapter, it all circles back to how good of a mother she was to them and how she kind of built their character she learned a lot growing up because she had to be an adult as a kid. So she kind of showed her kids what that was like, but also allowed them to have a childhood because she didn't get to have one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like overall, like the chapter was really
About Ida. How do you say her name?
It's centered around Ida. And
as well as the Eisenhower family and their like self-awareness
journey.
Yeah.
And how they conquered themselves and their characters and developing to be better human beings and being the people that they ended up becoming, especially the children as they grew older.
The whole development process.
And Ida as the leader.
Oh! Okay. Ready?
Wait, outro.
That was the outro!
That's the
What?
outro.
I thought that was an intro.
Okay, guys, so as you can tell, Jess just left. Thanks for watching. The bloopers might be before this, after this, during
Make
this.
sure you like, subscribe,
Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know down below how you thought of our group. And if you aren't part of our class or our group and you're watching this,
Why?
well,
Oh my god, cut that out.
please just stop watching. If you've gotten all the way over here, it's over.
Peace. We're good. All right.